we wanted bugs that people were going to fall in love with. Let's face it, a lot of people haven't made TV shows about bugs because they think they're a hard sell.
It's a joy to be speaking with you today, Bill. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Great to speak to you. You look like you're a big Disney fan.
I am. I am. In fact, we just came back from there. Our family vacation went to Disney World only 2 weeks ago, so we're big fans of
Awesome.
Disney's World, if you will. Um, and Real Bugs Life is so much fun. Of course, speaking with Bill Markham, the producer of A Real Bugs Life. What is it about this series that excited you to bring it to life?
I've worked on a lot of TV shows, and they nearly always have to be about big, cuddly, relatable mammals, or possibly birds, maybe reptiles, but never bugs. I mean, there's I think 90% of the 10 million species on this planet are bugs, and yet they are grossly neglected by the TV world. And actually, that's 9 million opportunities to tell a story. And this series picked, I think, there were 130 different species of bug are featured, but really each episode is about one or two species. And we wanted to find bugs that the audience could relate to, that had engaging stories, that had surprising stories, that could tell us about the kind of the bug condition, what it's like being a bug, how you grow up, how you move home, how you have a family, all those things that we have to do. They've each got their own solution to the trials of life and how to do these things. So with the kind of advent of new technology, we're able to get down into the bugs world. So, trying to be inspired by Pixar and A Bug's Life, we wanted to tell the story of life from a bug's perspective, and it was a great time to do it, frankly.
It is incredible to, like you talked about the new technology, because this footage here is unreal. And just incredible storytelling. I have to admit, like you talk about, the bugs are often neglected. There are episodes of here where you actually had us cheering against the animals that we would normally be cheering for, like, oh, baby ducks, stuff like that. And my kids were like, no, no, leave the. Um, we had a lot of fun with it, but
The heroes were the bugs. We wanted these animals which are not just neglected, I suppose, they're also sometimes misunderstood. They can be disliked. And we want to change that because bugs are seriously important. Bugs pollinate our food. They are food for loads of animals. They clear up our waste. If we didn't have bugs, we'd be wading around in dung. They are super important in the food chain. If we didn't have them, the food chain would collapse. And frankly, we are losing them. In the last 20 years, I think we've lost 60% of our bugs in this country. And it's the same in the States. We are losing them. Their extinction rate is 8 times faster than mammals and birds and reptiles. They are disappearing on our watch. When you grew up, I bet you used to drive through the countryside and your windscreen wipers would have to be going to wipe the bugs off. And when you got there, there'd be dead bugs all over your number plate. When did you last see that? We do not get that anymore. My son is 10. He's never seen that. And it's shocking. So this is a really fun series, really fun. But it's got some serious messages hidden away in the background.
Well, one of the things that I love about this series too is its emphasis. There's real emphasis on relationships, and not just between uh, the creatures and themselves, but certainly with with the creatures and the human world. Like even small moments where the bugs are just walking along the street, and you see the way that you see the shot of the car coming. Right now, you have empathy for that. But I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that. Was there something in particular that surprised you about the way that these environments interact?
I think one of my favorite episodes is The Love in the Forest, which is set in the Smoky Mountains. And, you take things for granted, like there are moths around, they fly at night, great. But actually, how do they do that? And how do they not bump into the trees? And how do they find a mate? I mean, the fact of the matter is a male moth, he comes out of his chrysalis. He's got basically about a night to find love. They may last 2 or 3 nights, but a lot of them only last one night. And he's got to find a female. He can trace a female by detecting 1 billionth of a gram of perfume 6 miles away. And then he can fly through the dark, around the trees, past the bats and the owls, and he can find her. That is pretty remarkable. And when the bat comes, not only can he fly pretty fast, but his tail of the Luna moth in particular is designed so it scrambles the bat's sonar. So the bat misses when it tries to catch it. So this is an animal that's super adapted to living in this environment. And actually, like I said, I think there are 9 million described species of insect. Each of them is doing something that has enabled it to survive for millions of years. I think most bugs have been around since before the dinosaurs, and they have perfected these ways of living in their environments. So in this series, what we do in each episode, I don't know if you noticed, but each episode has an angle on bug survival or bug life. So Love in the Forest is about how bugs find love. The beach one is about what happens when you want to move house. The pond one is about, the pressures of growing up and the need to grow up and what happens when you grow up. There's another episode I can't remember off the top of my head, but in the previous series it was about finding a home and surviving humans. So there's it's not just a load of fun little adventures. There's a lot of stuff to be learned about bugs along the way.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things that I think is interesting too, with this series, Disney has a long history of filming the natural world, even back to Walt's with True Life Adventures. And as you're crafting a series like this, what's important to you in terms of storytelling? How you want to bring these animals to, or how these bugs to life, if you will?
I think the kind of watchwords on this were character, relatability, story. Story covers all of it, I suppose. But we chose very carefully which bugs to feature. We wanted to represent bugs from across the spectrum of bugs, moths, bees, ants, mantises, you name it. We wanted them to be in the series. We wanted bugs that people were going to fall in love with. Let's face it, a lot of people haven't made TV shows about bugs because they think they're a hard sell. And a lot of them are, but we chose the ones which we thought people might really like. So, spiders with big eyes, or moths, which were kind of nice and fluffy, or damselflies, which are stunningly gorgeous, or fireflies, which are just magical. And in a way, these bugs that we chose are kind of gateway bugs to the greater number of them. If you can fall in love with these fireflies and these spiders, then maybe you'll become more interested in bugs on the whole. I mean, we chose little things we looked for, like, can a bug move its head? That was a big tick. If it could react like that, rather than like that. No one really likes beetles because they doesn't move like this. Whereas the ants look, and it makes them look intelligent. And it's little things like that mean that we can relate to them. I'm not saying the other beetles are bad. Beetles are wonderful. In fact, they're the most numerous species of group of animals on the planet. But it's really important that we got people to engage. And I mean, incredibly, Series 1 was so popular on Disney Plus. It made it into the top 10 alongside things like The Mandalorian and Percy Jackson. It was the only factual show in that top 10 on the whole of the Disney platform. And it was about bugs. It wasn't about chipmunks or cute little baby bear cubs. It was about these things that some people call creepy crawlies. And we really wanted to kind of change people's attitude towards that. And so that was really, really important. I'm just going to press a button because my TV's in danger of turning off. Hang on.
Sure.
But yeah, it's done. Good. Yeah. So whoa. So yeah, I think I answered that one, didn't I? Just about.
Yeah, you did.
The TV went.
Well, you do change the attitudes about it. Like, I'm not a bugs guy. You had me actually cheering for spiders in this one, which is that's not my thing.
I think my boss, who probably won't thank me for saying it, but he said after he watched one of the episodes, he used to get ants coming into his kitchen every summer, and he would reach for the nuclear option, the bug spray. And then this time, he went for the dustpan and brush and gently got them out and put them back in the garden. And we really hope that, I think the bug's effect is that people look at them in a new way and kind of go, they are individuals, they're characters, they may have kids, they may have partners, let's just treat them with some respect. I think that is really working.
It's amazing how that can change, like how that can change our attitudes. Like, because we view them as such an annoyance. We're out in the summer, my friends and I are sitting around the campfire, and all we're doing is complaining about the mosquitoes. But we don't think about the things that they're trying to do to survive. And I think Aquafina does a wonderful job of bringing those stories to life as narrator. I was wondering how she got involved in the project. I know she was involved in the previous season, but how she got into it.
I think that we, as a this production company where I work, Plimsoll Productions, we're quite rebellious. We quite like seeing what other people are doing and do the opposite. And I think Aquafina is the opposite of certain more traditional natural history narrators. You know, she's a comedian. She doesn't know a lot about bugs, to be perfectly honest. So she brought that naivety and that sense of fun to this series. You know, I was with her in the sound booth, and she would be helping me write lines of script. She was reacting to what she was seeing. She was saying, I'm just not going to read for a second. I just want to watch this scene again. I want to get into the mind of the bug. And she would then react, and we would keep some of those reactions in it. So her, what you might call a script, is really a combination of a narrator's voice, Aquafina's reaction, and sometimes the voice of the bug too. So she's kind of this amalgamation of all these three things. And I think it's really fun. And it is about immersing yourself in the world of these bugs. And sometimes it's about reacting to what they're doing. Sometimes it's about, well, how would I feel if I was in that situation? So yeah, she was a lot of fun.
Yeah, she brings some lightheartedness and some emotion into these moments, which I think works really well. And I mean, I know we're starting to run out of time, Bill, but I just would love to know, what is it that you hope people take away from A Real Bug's Life? Because the series is just such a hit.
I think it will open people's eyes to an incredible group of animals that they've either overlooked, they might have disliked, they might have ignored. These animals have each got personalities, they've got stories, they've each got a solution to surviving the trials of life. You know, that every single species, by definition, takes life a little differently. And we've made 2 seasons and featured 130 bugs, but there's another several million species to go. So I hope they feel inspired to look at bugs in a different way, look into them a little more, and take them seriously. You know, if we lose them, we lose these pollinators. If we lose this link in the food chain, if we lose these clear up crew, we're going to be screwed, you know, to be perfectly honest. And we are losing them. We're losing them so fast. I think I've already said it, we've lost 60% of the flying bugs in this country in the last 20 years, and they weren't at a good level 20 years ago. So we've got to take this seriously. We want kids to you know, I've got a 10-year-old kid, and when I see parents of friends of his see a bug and they go, ugh, and then their kid goes, ugh, I'm not surprised their kid's going, ugh, because that's the culture that they're growing up with. So careful with my kid never to react like that to a bug. We treat it with respect, and we look into it and work out what it's doing. And I think we need to change the cultural appreciation of bugs. It's got to change, because we can't afford to lose them.
And I think that's such an important part of the series, again, by helping us understand what life is like for them. It
Yeah.
provides a greater sense of understanding of why we need them around.
Yeah, definitely. And it's really easy. You know, kids start out with a fascination of bugs, right? I mean, most kids, when they're little, they're staring at ants and they're wondering about them and they're playing with them. They lose that because it's kind of pushed out of them by society. And not everyone does. Thank God I didn't. But I think we need to encourage it. And a series like this, as I say, it's really broken through. And if we can create a generation of bug lovers, then I think we're on a winning streak.
Well, I really do appreciate your time, and I really love the series. It's so much fun. I'm sure with 9 million bugs, you've got ample opportunity for season 3.
Indeed.
Quite a few more characters, if you will.
Exactly. Yeah,
Well,
we'd love to do that. I mean, there are so many untold stories. We had it was a hell of a whittle from 9 million down to, well, probably about 10 main species that we went for. But yeah, there's a lot of, got a bit of fear of missing out, I think.
Well, as much empathy as you've given me for the bugs, if you could tell me why I should care about mosquitoes, I would appreciate that.
well, I mean, that's a long answer. Frankly, they are food for a lot of things. They probably keep people out of places where people are better off not be. You know, leave the swamps to themselves in the evening. They're fine. They don't need you there. But yeah, they are. I will admit, I'm not that fond of mosquitoes myself, but I'm sure they've got great stories too. In fact, you know what they have? If you could ever see, they lay their eggs on the surface of the water, and then they develop in these larvae which hang onto the surface of the water with those little snorkels. And then when they metamorphose into adults, we actually filmed it for Bugs Life. It didn't make the final cut, unfortunately, but they come up through the surface like an alien. And it's absolutely stunningly beautiful. And their proboscis comes out, and then their wings come out. And yeah, they're beautiful too. You just need to look at them in a different way.
Well, maybe that's my problem. But Bill, honestly,
No, I'll
thank
give you that one. You're allowed not to love mosquitoes.
you.
Just like them and
I
appreciate them
really, I really
and
do
respect them.
appreciate you. I appreciate the time as well. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I'm really glad you enjoyed the series. I hope lots of other people will.
I do too. I do too. I was surprised at my affection for bugs at the end of it. So I'm looking
Excellent.
forward
That's what we
to
like.
more stories. All
Great.
right. Thanks.
Thanks,
Have a great
Steve.
day.
Cheers.
Thanks, Bill. Bye-bye.